Yeah.
All right. So this is
The recording?
This is Erica, Jiyeon, and Jonathan, and we're going to talk about the dojo and some other apps.
Okay, so my first question is if either of you have ever actually used Class Dojo in your own classes, because I haven't, and I explored the app a little bit, and it seems really neat to me, but I'm wondering if you've ever actually had experience with it.
Jiyeon?
Yeah, I did it before, but I'm not using now. I'll tell you why I just stopped this Class Dojo.
Mm-hmm.
Can I? Yeah. So it is the humiliating to display publish those students who get minus points. The same doesn't help students learn. Place of student behavior is nothing more than public shaming. So all students in the classroom are aware of what is going on. The kids know when someone is not behaving well. However, by using the public symbol, whether it is big color card or stoplight or clip or point, it becomes a public display. It also becomes a conversation at home table. Example, Johnny was on the lead today, or Abby lost point today, like that. So there is ample evidence that public shame is not motivating and does not encourage long-term changes. That's why, yeah, I don't use it now.
Okay. Kaoutar, can you hear us?
Yeah. Oh, Kaoutar here.
Okay, well, we just went ahead and gotten started about 1 minute ago talking about Class Dojo. So if your video and microphone isn't working, why don't you just type your responses?
And yeah, while Kotar's hopefully doing that, I'll say I've never used this app. In looking at it, it seemed like it had some good sides. I guess the fact that the parents can keep tabs on the kids is good in a way, although it might be, just a little bit too much for some kids. The kind of like Pavlovian reaction to the positive ding noises when people get praise points seems good for little kids. Like just an immediate kind of positive feeling, an endorphin rush, I guess. The way it seems like it tracks you can keep the records for conferences, parent-teacher conferences. Seems like it would probably be a pretty valuable tool. There were some little videos and activities about emotional growth, which seemed good. But on the whole, I also do agree with Jiyeon that kind of the public shaming that could come out of it seems like it's a negative. It also seems like it just sets extrinsic goals for behavior. You're getting rewarded for your actions. It's less about, kind of the internal motivating reasons why kids should be behaving well in the classroom. But I did do some reading on some little advice blogs about how to use it, and there was a lot of mention that use praise, don't use the negative buttons often. Praise as much as you can, and kind of setting goals for numbers and resetting. So everyone's going to have, maybe the kid who gets the most points will be at 0 sometimes. That's because they got to 50, got to get a little toy, and then it resets back to 0. So at least it's not a competition where the kids who are struggling are at 5 and the kids who are excelling are at 98 all the time. So it seems like with so many other things, if it's used well, it could be effective, but a teacher needs to know how to use it well, and if you just use it without any training or forethought, it could be less than good in the classroom. I guess that's what I got.
Okay. Jiyeon, do you have headphones?
I can't because it's my
Because it's on your
phone.
phone.
I need to. Yeah, sorry, my daughter's coming now.
Okay.
That's why. 아빠 좀 기다려줘. Yeah, she out now. Okay. Is it better?
Yeah, I think it's fine. So I'll just say a couple of points about Dojo. I am wondering if it's possible to use it in like a modified way. So really just to have a class list to tell parents that once a month you'll send out pictures that you've taken. Maybe to use the other tools that they have, like a noise meter or the directions tool, but not to really involve the kids in this public displays of, behavior. I also wonder if you invite parents to use the app, if you're then kind of too accessible to parents. If they then, get obsessed with looking, if they've gotten a message from you and they are in touch with you too often.
Why did my kid get a -2 today? Why did my kid didn't get enough plus points today? I agree.
And smartphones, like people feel like they have the right to use them 24 hours a day. And whereas if we have a strict email policy that we only email and we won't answer emails after 4, it's a bit easier to keep limits with parents, I think.
If I can jump in, I also thought it also, you need to have a lot of tech access at your school for it to really be useful. And maybe that level of tech access isn't always great for the kids. And the way it's structured, it just feels like it's almost like Facebook in the classroom. It's just a simple point system that's evaluating behavior. It's overly simplistic in a lot of ways, I think.
Kaoutar, have you ever used Class Dojo? Okay.
I'd also say the range.
I'm also wondering. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Erica.
If in practicality, when it's used in class, do you then log on to the desktop version or like the computer version and put it on the smartboard? Or do you really always just use your phone?
Smartboard?
Okay.
Somewhere I think I saw that you can actually like put it up on your smartboard, so the kids can kind of control their own point rewards. So you might just tell, Bobby, you get +1, go award yourself +1, and they can go do it on the smartboard. But you need a smartboard.
And Kaoutar, do you think overall it was a good tool? Is it something you'd use in your own classroom or no? I can imagine that the kids would also get very fixated on it and, like the cute monsters, and a lot of time could get lost just talking about and thinking about and having this competitive environment around Class Dojo.
Yeah, it seems like
Okay.
the kind
Are
of...
there any other... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it seems like the range where it can be applied is a little bit narrow. I think it would be too difficult for really young kids and too cutesy for old kids. And I think it could help some kids, but it doesn't seem like something you could apply with any sort of precision in the classroom. You either use it for everyone or you don't use it at all. And it, like you were saying, the competitiveness in it might not be good for everyone. Might help some kids, but might hurt others.
Okay. Yeah, so Kaoutar made the point, if it's not used consistently, that it's not very useful, and there are technology issues. Should we all talk about what other technical tools we looked into other than Class Dojo?
Sure.
Jonathan, do you want to start?
Yeah, I could do that. I looked at kind of a few of them. Hold on just a second. The ones, so there's like the sand timer, best sand timer, and the stop and go. Between the two of them for a countdown clock, I think the sand timer was a lot better. It was a good visual representation of how much time the kids had left to do something, where I thought the stop and go timer, it almost seemed like it would make things more kind of pressured in a negative way. Because it does just go from green for however many minutes, yellow for however many minutes, and then cut off. So I'd actually feel more pressured by that than just by a regular countdown timer. The sand timer, looked good, but it was also pretty design. The design I thought might work for a high school, not for younger kids. It wasn't really warm or fuzzy. And in a way, I don't know, couldn't you just use an actual sand timing clock? But regardless, I could see ways that they could be used, but neither of them seemed particularly good. The one app I liked was the Too Noisy Pro. That actually seemed pretty cool. I like the way that it could be kind of made cutesier for younger kids, made more serious for older kids, and has a pretty direct application. It seems like it does it really well, and would only need to be used when it needed to be used. And they also mentioned, the fact that it's kind of run off of your smartphone means that you can kind of put it in places where you need it to be. So let's say if one table in a group during your group time is consistently too disruptive, you can put it there. You don't have to put it directly with the quiet kids. And you can modify its sensitivity. I thought the Too Noisy Pro was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Jiyeon, do you want to talk about what other apps you looked at?
Super Duper Data Tracker. This is a good, is an advanced tool for the monitoring and documenting your students and progress. So this is adding students to multiple groups, temporarily to a group to make a missed session. I can see total point, but I can't see a word for. But the Super Duper Data Tracker is write note for each student in a session, and also can see graph result for each goal, and also email result for the individual student or all students in a group. Yeah, it's more progress. And another one is others, teachers class behavior free. This also create a list of students, children, and group people, and record behaviors by very simple typing a button next to the name. So it's easy for the see. Yeah, and also can email yourself, save logs to the teacher. Yeah.
Only if it seems doable.
Have you got anything, Erica?
So I looked at the SAM timer as well. And I think the same as you, it could be useful, but I don't know if it's really necessary. I think I would rather just use a real SAM timer, especially for young kids who don't need to be wowed or don't need to be infused with more technology than necessary. Kaoutar just made the point too that it has ads unless you buy the the other version. So I think it's one of those situations where maybe you're using technology unnecessarily.
Yeah, I also.
But in general, the concept of having kids have a time limit for things is great. There's just other ways that it can be done, even with a simple, I don't know, alarm or real SAM timer, or I'm looking at my watch, you have 5 minutes, you have 2 minutes, and we're done, Good thing you're asking, Kaoutar. The other app I looked at was TeacherKit. And for me, it looked really useful. You can add all of the sort of data information about your classes, and there are grading features. You can insert a calendar. You can take attendance. And I think it's good because it's like an organizational tool for the teacher, and it's not as much of a public thing as Class Dojo. It's really, you can do a plus or minus for behavior. Maybe not every day, maybe say once a week or every Monday you're going to give a plus or a minus to your students. But then it's your own notes. And it's not like a public display for all parents to see or all kids to see. So I guess I'm probably most likely to use TeacherKit, although I was more into the idea of Class Dojo until I heard some of your critical points about it.
Yeah.
And like Kaoutar said, it looks professional. It's geared at the teacher. And it could be good for like when it is report card time, not replacing, everything, all of your work, but keeping track of it throughout the semester.
Right.
Yeah. So is there anything, maybe we can just, go ahead.
Yeah, I briefly took a look at Instant Classroom and Smart Seat too. And the only real benefits they seem to have was they're just general randomized seating or generators or group generators. Which I guess if you're teaching a lot of really big classes, I could see how that would be really nice. But at the same time, if you have the time, it also seems like you can arrange your seating. You can do your seating arrangements kind of thinking about your students, which would probably help a lot of kids, or your groups. If you get a randomly assigned group which has all kids who are kind of struggling in the same area, it's not going to be as good a group than if you have kids from different levels who can support each other. So I can see how it would be useful. The one thing I liked about Smart Seat was it had you put pictures over all of your students, and they said for teachers with lots of kids, they have a flashcard mode to kind of learn your kids' faces and names together. So I thought that was cool. But again, all of these things just seem like the teacher should be applying it in a way that is helpful to them, and it shouldn't just be used. It should be used judiciously, and it should be used with, kind of a discerning eye. That's, I guess, all I have to say.
Maybe each of us can just name our favorite app that we came across and the one that we're most likely to use in our own class.
How about you, Erica?
I think TeacherKit. Because you can also, it has the photo option of having, for each class have the names with a photograph. And then it's just basically your own personal, note keeper for your classes. So I think I'd be most likely to use that.
Okay.
Jiyeon?
Which was your favorite?
Okay.
Jiyeon, what was your favorite?
Okay, so Kaoutar said Smart Seat. She'd be most likely to use.
I'll jump in and say it is the simplest one, but my classes are really small. So a lot of the management tools, I don't need as much. I like Too Noisy Pro. Simple, direct, and I think there's a lot of ways I could use it. So I liked it. I would use it.
Is it one that measures the noise?
Yeah, and it gives you kind of
with like
the,
a meter?
Yeah, and it gives the kids a limit. If they get too noisy, then it'll break the screen.
That's good for younger ones.
Jiyeon, did you have a favorite?
Okay.
Or have we got anything else?
Is there anything? Yeah. Is there anything else anyone wants to add about any of the apps? I would say one last thing that I think maybe is challenging is in general that phones aren't necessarily welcome devices at schools. Our students aren't allowed to use smartphones. So to have, for the teacher to always have their phone out and have all of these little tools and be holding it and having it in the room and using the device a lot, I think could be challenging when at schools that have strict, smartphone policies.
Yeah.
And you have to be very professional about not then, checking your email and doing other things on your phone and really just showing the kids that it's an organizational tool.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say with a lot of the bigger apps, I can see how they'd be useful, but I think the teacher needs to control the app, and it seems like it would be dangerous for the app to start controlling the teacher. So I'd say as long as these apps are used directed and purposefully, I can see how they'd be useful, but I think there would be the temptation to use it as a crutch. Okay, go ahead, Kaoutar, if you got some smart seat reasons. I did see that, and I did like that it keeps track of who's participating. Or like with the random class, what random questions, how it keeps track of how many kids have answered random questions.
And I could see how you could use it as a tool that's not necessarily during class, but you could use it as, you know, now halfway through the school year, we need to change our seating, and using it as a tool outside of class and then bringing it into class.
Should we let Jiyeon get back to her family?
Well, I think so. I think this has been useful.
Yeah.
I'm going to check out some of the apps I didn't look at yet. And yeah, I think we're done.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Is that okay?